Good evening. I was almost on time tonight. I hit the wrong button. I literally hit the wrong button. I was so close. How are you tonight? It's Wednesday night, the 5th of April. If my microphone is terrible tonight, I apologize. Last night, after the stream, I decided that I was going to work on the audio for no reason except for there was some clicking. I don't like the clicking. And so I was going to see if I could fix it. And I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube about, how to set your microphone. And it was bad. It was bad. Also kept me up till after midnight, so that wasn't good. Just wanted to check. Just wanted to check how I screwed up the Rumble feed, but I didn't. It just says the live stream begins the 5th of April, and it's the 5th of April at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and right now it's 9 o'clock Central time. Something's screwed up. I mean, I can see I'm broadcasting over there. Anyway, I have it on a screen over here. That's actually where it is. So, how are you tonight? Strange. The Twitter was not exciting today for real estate. I don't know if people were taking the day off from yesterday or what's going on, but it just wasn't very lively. So we're not going to have a lot of stuff from Twitter based on real estate. We do have our main stories coming from Twitter tonight, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, there's an article that I thought was really interesting about listing photos, like they're going to do new things with listing photos this year. I thought that I'd like to know what that is. There's a new excuse for why mortgage demand is low or mortgage applications dropped. I thought that would be something we should pay attention to. And then the last thing that I want to take a look at is the home affordability. I think home affordability is the most serious problem in the market, because if you can't afford to buy a house, then you can't buy one. I mean, I know that's brilliant coming from a real estate agent, but that's my main concern. I'm going to try something real quick over on the Rumble. Just a second. All right, there we go. I needed to reset something. So I did. And now we're good. So, well, that's weird. If you are on Rumble, or if you are on YouTube and you are watching, would you please hit the subscribe button or the follow button? My goal is 1,000 subscribers. I'm up to 967 videos on YouTube alone. It'd be nice to be, one subscriber per person, but that's not going to happen per event. We know that. But I would like 1,000 subscribers. So, I mean, I'm putting that out there. If you do watch and you do find some value in my program, please consider subscribing or following. With that, I'll introduce myself. My name is John Schenk. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small, very small residential real estate firm. It's just me. I help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. In the evening, when I'm not doing that, I do the Deerwood Realty live stream, and that's what you're watching right now. And the Deerwood Realty live stream is all about, real estate stuff, pop culture, and what I think about things. I don't know why there needs to be a show like that, but there is, and it's the Deerwood Realty live stream. The weekends, not a lot of streaming on the weekends. They normally get away from me between showings and actually getting stuff done. So that's who I am, and that's what you're watching. Tell me about yourself. You're always welcome to put questions in the chat. You're also welcome to put questions in the comments. I wanted to go over one today. I don't know if I'll get to it because I don't know how to set it up. I think I've got it figured out. I think I'm going to try and do it while I'm talking. So that'll be good. And I don't know if the sound is on my microphone, so that ought to be good. It's probably a terrible idea, actually. This is where it might get dicey. Oh, that's the dicey part. Okay, I paused it. Now. Okay. I think I got it in order. Sorry about that. So now we can go to that too. We got to get going on the show, I guess. I just don't really have a good start. A good way to frame it. So I will try it this way. Okay. So, as you know, I do YouTube shorts to try and bring people to see the show. I mean, I don't have any way to really advertise other than that. And when I did advertise, it was a killer. It probably set my channel back a long way. I'm probably in purgatory just for that. But anyway, I had a short about we were talking about inflation the other day, and I said, and it was straight from the show, and it was about, you know, no one really cares about inflation when you grow up, like in your life. Like if you went to the store, I said the example. I said if you go to the Starbucks when you're 10, and it's like $5 for a drink, you don't really care because you're not paying for it. And then you go back when you're in your 20s and it's $14. All of a sudden, it's like, wow, that's inflation. And I said nobody cares because they don't know, because as people grow up, they're used to seeing a higher number than the people before them. And I got 2 comments. For me, that's, you know, a lot. And I wanted to go over those with you, except I don't know what just happened, but let's go this way. So I did want to show this to you because I thought this was good. The internet can sometimes be good. And so here's the comments. This one guy, Gatsu Gambino, wrote, "We care, dude. The only people that don't care are people who have enough money to do it." So I wrote back, "You're a good person to care. I wish there were more people like you." And he said, "When you find them, keep them closer. They're more real and don't sugarcoat things. I'll send you a follow, man. Keep your head up." Oh, that was nice. And then this other person wrote, "We care." And I think that's good. I think the more people that know about, oh, that was a pretty cool picture of me, a pretty cool freeze of me. I think the more people that, I don't know about that. I got to stop sharing the screen because that's not what we're on right now. Sorry. I think the more people that care about, you know, what's going on, I think that's important. I think that's helpful. I feel like, at least during my time, when I was going to school and stuff, people talked about, you know, you need to be part of this movement or that movement, or there's all these movements you want to be a part of. And I never wanted to be a part of anybody's movement. But the idea of like representative democracy, the idea where you know, I mean, if enough people say no, stuff stops going crazy. It's just we haven't gotten to that point yet. And it seems like we've actually taught the opposite. There's been some things that have occurred recently that I've just been blown away by how bad they turned out. So anyway, if more and more people care about inflation, then something will be done about inflation. There's a way to signal what's important to your elected officials. Sometimes they don't care, but anyway, actually sometimes, all the time, they don't care. They're only there for their own self-interest. I mean, there's no question. I mean, it's insanity. So let's get into this thing that I saw now. let me frame it this way. I always like to frame it from a historical perspective, my history. And that's when I was growing up, we didn't have disinformation experts. It wasn't a thing. It didn't exist. In fact, we listened and we thought the news was actually true. Like we thought if you turned on NBC, like they were telling the truth about everything. It only started getting weird with the Dan Rather, George Bush memo thing. That got weird. Then all of a sudden, the onion, the layers are starting to get pulled back over time. And that was kind of, for me, the start of like, wait a minute, that wasn't real. That was made up. It's just gotten worse since then. So you have this, okay? So you have this idea of a disinformation. You have the idea that there are reporters and people that are specialized to come up with what's true and not, and then they tell you what it is, and then they also have power over some of the social media platforms to where they can say, oh, well, we need to slow this down because this is disinformation. This is not true. Very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And I know the true purpose of the disinformation experts. Okay, don't kid yourself. But I wanted to go over this. The question, when is something true? Like we can't even agree on things that are true anymore. And I say we can't. I mean, I have no idea. So I came across this today. I thought, and by the way, it's with Elon Musk, and I think that the things he does are just fascinating. Let's go here. Okay, this is so it says NPR, it says U.S. state-affiliated media. Now, 100%. They have been state-affiliated media forever. And you say, well, John, what is your definition? Because I think that's where there's a problem. Is words have become, it's become warfare, and we just seed these words, we don't really think about them. And so the words the things we think we're thinking that other people are thinking aren't those things. So when I say, I'll define state-affiliated media myself. When the government is paying an organization, directly or indirectly, and that makes up a good portion of their revenues, their ability to exist. Okay? I mean, there's no, I don't want to get into percentages. All I'm just saying is if the government stopped funding this directly or indirectly right now, would the organization stay in business? The same thing with one of the biggest things the NGOs. It's like the idea that the government funds these NGOs across the world, very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I don't trust them in any way. Okay? But anyway, it's just funny. So Twitter goes and puts state-affiliated media, which is true to me. I mean, how could it not be? It's what other media is being paid for in some or directly or indirectly by the U.S. government? What other do we have? PBS? I would say PBS is state affiliated as well. So just so we're clear. Okay? So then so then he writes, he's there somewhere. He had a reply and he's like, this seems accurate because it gave a definition of, which I'm going to find out here if I can get it now, because it wasn't set up this way for me. Let's see if this is it. I might have to go really far back, and I don't really want to. I saw it yesterday. Okay, here we go. So here we go. And so he gave his definition, which I think is very important. So, his definition through Twitter, you could say, oh, that's not. him directly, and that's fine. But it says state-affiliated media is defined as outlets where the state exercises control over editorial content through financial resources, direct or indirect political pressures, and or control over production and distribution. It says seems accurate. Okay, now it says 3 hours ago there, I don't know the timestamps. There's been accusations that the wording has been changed. Whatever. I think it's fair to call NPR and also PBS state-affiliated media. So then we have this disinformation expert. I don't know who she is, but I'm going to go here. Okay, and it says she's a PhD, so she's supposed to be smarter than the rest of us. Behavioral scientist, postdoc, epistemic super predator. She's studying disinformation, which is rich. Cognitive security crisis, opinion, or her. She's a scientist, which is why I get concerned when, well, there's words I would say like, but I'm worried I'll get kicked off of YouTube to say it. So anyway, so she's supposed to be, I mean, she's got 109,000 tweets. She has so much time on her hands to be able to do this kinds of stuff. And so she writes, just so we're all clear, NPR is not state-funded, nor do they take editorial direction from the government. Less than 1% of NPR's annual operating budget comes from government grants and other federal agencies and departments. It's publicly funded, not state-funded. And I said, well, that's interesting because I keep hearing about this less than 1% of NPR's revenue. Now, how do you trust NPR to give you the right information? I think that's where the corruption in institutions has come. We're just supposed to believe what an institution writes or says, as if that's, and where I saw it is like last night even, I was talking about how here's a reporter reporting exactly what the person said, okay? They did not question that in any way. I don't think it's wrong necessarily. It seems like it's more amplified when someone's trying to get away with something. And so here we have, like, so less than 1%. And then what's interesting, it says, wow, way to make this label meaningless. NPR is absolutely not even comparable to propaganda outlets like, I forgot what, the Russia Times and Sputnik, which have no editorial independence. This is ridiculous and only helps actual propaganda outlets blend in with legitimate news outlets. I don't think NPR is a legitimate news outlet under any circumstance. There's no way. I couldn't even listen to it back in the 90s. They were nuts. I mean, it's only gotten worse. So, fine. So I say, okay, well, if it's only 1%, right? Because I'm a normal person. I go about my day. I have a job. I try to help people buy homes. And I try to help people sell homes. And like, this is not something that I spend all day on. I'm not a behavioral scientist. I'm not studying disinformation. I'm just a normal guy. Okay? So then Michael Tracy, who I've heard of, he gets into fights with everyone. Says another day, another round of blatantly false information peddled by disinformation experts. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting publishes financial statements itemizing the state funding it receives and disperses to NPR. The money is literally appropriated by Congress. Okay? And he writes, there's plenty of easily accessible U.S. government documentation verifying that NPR and member stations are recipients of state funding via the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, whose dispersals are governed by the federal statute. Bizarre that this would even be questioned. And then he goes after the I guess it's a woman. I don't know anymore. It looks like there's some dangerous disinformation on NPR's own website. Can't wait for you to crack the case. Maybe they'll feature your reporting on NPR. He says that, and then he goes, holy crap. NPR actually has featured Caroline in its reporting on the state-affiliated media issue. I thought I was just joking. And it said, must be a crazy coincidence the outfit for which this person currently applies her vaunted disinformation expertise was established in 2018 by the Pentagon. So here's the argument. Less than 1% of the revenue. That's the argument that's put forth by folks that believe that this is true. Okay. Whereas other people believe, based on the numbers, that The federal government controls the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which puts a significant amount of money in NPR's back pocket. I don't know if Elon Musk is one of those people that's just trying to just stir shit. Like, I don't know if he's that guy, but I mean, I have a hard time believing that he has enough time in his day to think like, hey, I need to find NPR on Twitter and I need to go ahead and do this. I don't believe that he has the time. I mean, could he play with the Dogecoin and the Twitter? Yes, he did, and it's funny. I don't know. So, just so we're clear, I think that since we play these word games all the time, to be square with my audience, like, I'm just going to say, this is my definition. I mean, that's the best I can do. Because everything we hear and everything we see anymore, like affordable housing, for instance, it's not what you think it is. It's not so someone can afford a house. It's for a certain group to be able to afford a house. You can define the group however you want to. And also that means it's not just the group that's supposed to get the housing, it's the group that's supposed to get the money, the grift, to put the housing in place. It's a racket. So, let's move on. This is Deerwood Realty website. We need to look at mortgage rates. And this happened today. 30-year fixed collapsed, down 21 basis points to 6.16%. Look, if we get in the fives, especially where I want to be is 5.5%, if we get there, market might get hot again. It's already hot. That's the problem. It's already hot. Here in St. Louis, I qualify that by saying, look, if you live in Phoenix, if you live in some other parts of the country that have been more impacted by the fix and flip mentality, the investor purchases, you're probably thinking a little differently. You're probably seeing things differently in your market, but I'm just saying for here, things have been hot for a number of years. And if you get that rate lower, I'm kind of frightened. Let's get to the tweets. I think it's going to be a quick show tonight. I'm looking for my time and I don't have it. Let me see where we're at. I don't like to go too long. There's plenty of other shows you can watch. You know, there's plenty of you might have gotten home from work. You got things to do. You know, I don't want to stay on too long, but I did want to get out, see, and talk tonight. Oh. I'm being spammed on my website. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, the first one's from Darth Powell. It says, adjusted for inflation, housing costs have never been more expensive. Now, to me, that's a problem. It's a problem because it's just not good. On the real estate side, like, it doesn't matter to me on the real estate side. I keep trying to tell people, they don't believe me, but I care about transactions. I don't really care about the values as much. It doesn't really do a whole lot for me. I just want the transactions. So, like, if I can do 5 transactions in a month, I mean, that would be a great month, okay? Buy or sell side. If those houses are $300,000 or if they're $200,000, I really don't care. A lot of people say, like, oh, you fight over commission all the time. I don't really fight over commission. I kind of have a set price, and this is what I charge. And if you don't like it, that's okay. Go find someone else. There's 8,000 other real estate agents in St. Louis, Missouri alone. So, but I do care from a perspective of, a parent. I don't want kids to grow up facing a tremendous amount of college debt, being laid on top of them, and then they need to go buy a car, and as you're aware, the car market is nuts. And then they go and try to buy a house, and they can't buy a house because they're paying the debt for the car, they're paying the debt for the school, and then they're going to incur more debt if they are able to buy a house. So I find this to be not good. And as far as do I have solutions for this issue? Well, I think I would immediately try to get single-family homes back in the hands of property owners, private property owners, not massive Wall Street-backed corporations. That would be a good start. I would look at the short-term rental regulations, and I would say, are these properties being rented? Is this the spirit of the single-family residential neighborhood, where it was built? And you may say, John, that's ironic. You're calling for government intervention, and I understand crony capitalism. I understand it, and I've always thought that the government's job was to be the referee. And the more times than not, now the government jumps wholly in on the side of the corporations. I mean, it's not even close. And so as much as I want things to be a certain way, like I want government to work, for the majority of the citizens, I know that's not what they're thinking. So anyway, housing bubble disrespecter. I thought this was fantastic too. It says, from Unusual Wales, the Zillow chief economist Skylar Olson has said that short-term strategies like home flipping won't work anymore. Zillow offers a Zillow iBuying program lost $450 million in a quarter, and they had to shut down. And they were essentially house flippers. It's essentially what they did. So for them to write that, so this whole thing is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Valorie M. Brown, who is following me on Twitter, I appreciate that. Most realtors thinking of selling, seller says, no. I have locked in 30-year rate at 2.5% rates, around 7%, no thanks. Most realtors thinking of buying, no, rates are near 7%, and home prices are so high I won't be able to afford it. And most realtors say this is fine. You see, I don't think it's fine. But how much control do I have over the United States home purchase and sale marketplace? If I die tomorrow, it's still going to be a problem. I am so far off of the ability to influence the housing market in any meaningful way that it's like, what am I going to do? And I tell you what I've done. I've stocked cash because I think it's going to be terrible for real estate agents coming up. It's absolutely going to be horrible. Because of this reason, if you've got a 2.5% 30-year fixed rate mortgage, you're not moving. You're not moving. Because what are you going to move to? It's a quandary that was created by the Fed. The Fed needs to fix it, and the way they're going to fix it isn't going to be pretty. It's going to be an absolute disaster. Last tweet, Unusual Wales, small businesses are filing for bankruptcy at a higher rate than the peak of the pandemic, per Bloomberg. And look, it seemed like during the pandemic, it seemed like the goal was to destroy small business. It seemed like there used to be a lot of restaurants that are no longer around. It seems like kind of weird where you were able to go to like Lowe's and Home Depot, but you weren't able to go to other stores. It seems really, really, really weird. I have a small business, but again, I don't look for anyone to help. I don't look for the government to be on my side for anything. I fully understand what's going on, and I'm just trying to keep it going. So that's that. Moving on, I was kind of interested by this article. I thought we'd go over it because I don't know the answer to this, and I've seen millions of listing pictures in my career. Millions. It says 4 trends you're going to see in every real estate listing photo this year. Okay, well, let's see. It says, do you remember the olden days, read 2 years ago, when waterfall countertops, grand millennial style, and chic wood paneling were all the rage in homes? No. No, I don't. Well, you might be seeing less of those things during your Zillow scrolling sessions. Today's trends, which you'll notice in the listing photos across the internet, are more about pops of color, modern pieces with shades of vintage, and tech enhancements that make a home stand out. These are all the things you can expect to see hitting listing photos for home sales this year, according to the pros. A few very specific paint colors. The colors you've often seen as accent walls are going to show big in the listing photos this year as buyers look for expanded palettes behind the standard beige, grayish, or white walls. Now, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I've got the grayish because I like it. This year's listing trends are paint colors like dark green, navy blue, and muted earth tones. Really? Real estate expert and founder of We Buy Houses for Cash. He might be an expert. I mean, to flip homes, you have to know the exact trends that buyers are looking for to do it right. But don't expect an onslaught of color that will be polarizing for buyers. The look will remain sleek and neutral. The overall look of the listing photos will be much more polished and professional, says Scott Rubson, founder of Tiffany Property Investments. Now look, my listing photos are always professional and they're always polished, so I don't really know what they're talking about. Curved sofa and velvet pieces. Well, now I didn't see this coming. It says furniture in this year's listings photos will take a combination approach, juxtaposing sofas with vintage flair, for example, with more modern pieces that make a home stand out. Well, now look, I literally just go through the listing. Like I don't even pay attention to any of this crap. It's like, does it look like someone was murdered in this house? No? Okay, maybe we'll go see it. Furniture pieces like carving sofas, velvet chairs, and mid-century modern pieces will be spotted in many homes. Well, wouldn't they be anyway? It says, the other guy agrees, noting we'll see more contemporary furniture and decor in functional and efficient layouts. I think the biggest thing for me, like, look, I don't want to see a yellow kitchen. And I don't pay attention. The furniture kit's not going to be there when my buyer buys it. We're not selling the furniture, we're selling the house. Smart appliances and features. Have you ever tried a voice-activated faucet? Well, in this year's listing photos and on home tours, you will. Now, look, how are you going to know that it's a voice-activated faucet in a listing picture? In a picture. They're a trend that's hitting more and more houses on the market for 2023. He also notes that automated lighting and climate control and smart appliances will be big this year, but it won't be in the pictures unless it's got a picture, it's got a television screen on it, like maybe one of those refrigerators. Of course, those aren't the only home features getting an update for this year's listings. You should also watch for natural wood accents, bright kitchen cabinets, and modern tile backsplashes. Solar panels and other sustainable additions. Listing photos this year will show proof that the previous homeowners had an eye for sustainability, something Rubson says is a trend right now. You will not see, on 90% of the photos online, you will not see solar panels or other sustainable additions. I can tell you that for a fact. All I can tell you is this. When a buyer looks at solar panels, or I'd say 90% of the home buyers, when they look at solar panels, or anything that has to do with tech, or anything that has to do with sustainable, they're like, I don't want to have anything to do with this house because it's just going to be trouble. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to be able to go home and be left alone. It says, this could manifest itself in a number of different ways, such as homes being listed with energy-efficient appliances or features, which we've had energy-appliant features for 30 years. Well, I mean, since I've been a real estate agent for 15. Or with a solar panel system, he says, whatever the case may be, buyers will be looking for homes that are more environmentally friendly. Really? And listing photos that reflect this will be sure to stand out. To that end, you'll also see lots of plants and greenery in this year's photos. It's a way to make the home stand out. Look, let's be honest. You're going to go on, like if you're looking for a house, you're going to do exactly what I said. You're going to be like, oh, the kitchen isn't yellow. It looks like someone hasn't died there. And from what I see, I'll go see the house in person. I mean, that seems like a plan. You're not looking for curved couches. You're not looking for sustainability. You may be saying, if I see anything that looks like some hippie commie garbage, I don't want to have anything to do with it. You may say that. And moving on. This is National Association of Home Builders. They write up some good stuff. I don't want to kick them too hard. They write some good stuff. It says, affordability pyramid shows 64.8 million households cannot buy a $250,000 home. So I guess what they're doing is putting these two numbers together. That's all I can guess. But it is kind of interesting. These are the households in millions. So 2.9 million people, million households can buy more than a $1.55 million home. Do you believe that? And really some of the numbers are kind of odd. 8.1 million people are able to buy a home between $500,000 and $600,000. Now that's just also surprising to me because when I started my career, that was considered a very expensive home. Anyway, as described in a previous post, the National Association of Home Builders recently released its 2023 priced out estimates and showed that 96.5 million households are not able to afford a median priced new home. Well, that's a little deceptive. New to them or new construction. And then an additional 140,436 households will be priced out if the price goes up by $1,000. Okay, so what they're saying, like a median price home is, I think it's like in the 380s. So if it was like 381, they wouldn't, 140,000 wouldn't be able to afford it. This post focuses on the related U.S. housing affordability pyramid, showing how many households have enough income to afford homes at various price thresholds. It says, based on this, I'm going to skip that paragraph because it's not that interesting. Based on this, the minimum income required to purchase a $150,000 home at the mortgage rate of 6.25% is $45,672.63. In 2023, about 39 million households in the U.S. are estimated to have incomes no more than that threshold and therefore can only afford to buy homes priced no more than $150,000. And good luck finding, at least in St. Louis, a decent house for $150,000 right now. 180, I probably could swing 180. I could get somewhere for 180, but 150 would be tough. These 39 million households form the bottom step of the pyramid. Another 25.8 million can only afford to pay a top price of somewhere between $150,000 and $250,000. The second step in the pyramid. Each step represents a maximum affordable price range for fewer and fewer households. Obviously, housing affordability is a greater concern for households with an annual income in the lower end of the distribution. And my concern is I don't care that people. I mean, I'm happy for people that can afford $1 million homes. I'm not against that. But man, when you're squeezing the lowest rung, like really squeezing them, like you're killing upward mobility in the United States. And I find that to be very, very disappointing and frustrating. It says the top step of the pyramid shows that around 3 million households can buy a home priced above $1.55 million. While this market is significant and important, market analysis should never only focus on them to the exclusion of the larger number of Americans with more modest incomes that support the pyramid's base. I agree, and I think what you'd like is more. This is more of like a tower. You want more of a pyramid. Yeah. Last one. This is interesting because we talked about this before. People say that the mortgage demand, the reason why it's not that high or why it's falling is because that buyers are paying attention to the rates. And I don't believe that. When a buyer goes to say, to go through the process of getting a pre-approval, they get a disclosure that says, here's about your payment for this number. And that's normally what they kind of go on. And then if rates do change, like say from 6 to 7%, they're aware of that, and they sort of drop what they're going to pay because they can't afford as much. But they don't go out of the market because the interest rates rise, the mortgage rates rise. They don't do that. That's not what I see. So anyway, it says mortgage rates fell last week, but demand for home loans didn't move higher as a result. Other aspects of today's housing market are outweighing the benefit of lower mortgage rates right now, namely lack of supply. Okay. Well, and I mean, I hate to say it, but if you go from 7 to like 6.5, you didn't really move anything. You didn't make it really all that interesting or compel me to go want to buy a house. The average contract interest rates for 30-year fixed mortgage with conforming loan balances decreased from 6.40 to 6.45, with points falling 0.59 to 0.62 for loans with a 20% down payment. It had been over 7% just a month ago. Mortgage applications to purchase a home, however, dropped 4% last week compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association seasonally adjusted index. Demand was 35% lower than the same week 1 year ago. It says, spring has arrived, but the housing market is missing the customary burst in listings and purchase activity that typically mark the season. After 4 weeks of increasing purchase application activity, volume declined a bit this week, even with another small drop in mortgage rates. And I see strong buyer interest, and I see very few houses we can actually go buy. Not due to affordability so much, but just the level. I mean, in one weekend, every single house that goes up for sale is sold by Monday. I mean, it's like, houses are not sitting 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It's just like, you have one weekend. If you take a vacation, you're not getting a house that weekend. It says new listings were down 20% year over year in March, according to Realtor.com, and total inventory was about half of what it was in March of 2019, pre-pandemic. And that's what I'm seeing. It's like, who's going to move if you have a 2.5 to 3.5% 30-year fixed rate? Why would you move? Only if something was terribly wrong. Although the mortgage rate for conforming loan balances declined by 5 basis points over the week, the mortgage rate for jumbo rates increased by 9 basis points. And while we have seen relative weakness at the high end of the housing market in recent months, the divergence in rates suggests that banks may be tightening credit in response to recent challenges, preserving balance sheet capacity as deposit balances have declined. I don't know if I believe that. It's not that much of a difference. 9 basis points, not that much of a difference. I like the idea that the idea that you couldn't right now go get a mortgage in the jumbo size because banks have decided to tighten. No, I could get mortgages all day. Not a problem. Most jumbo loans are held on bank balance sheets. Well, it doesn't matter. I could get it in a heartbeat. It says demand for Federal Housing Administration and Department of Veterans Affairs loans, which are favored by lower income borrowers due to low down payment requirements, declined more than those for conventional loans. While there's strong demand from first-time homebuyers with millennials hitting their peak buying age, affordability is still a challenge right now. And I hate, no offense, but I hate the way this is worded. Demand for Federal Housing Administration and Department of Veterans Affairs loans, which would be fine if you left it at that, which are favored by lower income borrowers. It's like, maybe they're lower income because they served in the military. I mean, maybe that's its own problem. Applications to refinance a home loan also dropped down 5% for the week, and 59% lower than the same week a year ago. Well, who's going to refinance? If it's stupid. If you have a rate at like 3%, and if you were refinancing, you get even lower. Why in the world would you refinance up at the 6% range? It's stupid. Rates are 150 basis points higher than they were at the same time last year, so there are precious few borrowers who can benefit from a refinance. And what we were seeing in the market, which is what I first figured there were problems with, like, look, if you're a company, okay, and you can't afford to be in business, if you're a mortgage company and you can't afford to be in business without the refinancing component and the normal first time or the purchase mortgages, you probably aren't in a good, it's just, you're not a good business. It's not a good business to be in. And so when we were seeing like Better.com layoffs, there were a number of layoffs. I think there's like Loan Depot had a bunch of layoffs. Ribbon I don't think they exist, or there's like 4 people there now. That's where you knew that the easy money was being thrown around like a drunken sailor. Whenever you hear like real estate tech, that's a buzzword for people who are throwing a bunch of money at something and somebody's going to end up holding the bag. So, I don't know. I'm not going to just run the show out long just to run it out tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow night. I've already got quite a few articles to go over, and I've got some stuff, so it should be fun. If you enjoyed the show, if you could hit the subscribe button or the follow button, I'd appreciate it. And I will see you tomorrow night